Do you want to do?
Two travelers here in Mexico, Wayne, Kathleen, Jeff,
Hello.
Jim, Karen, and the one and only Mark. Okay. So today we're all going to talk about our thoughts on learning Spanish, coming to Mexico. Do you need it? Do you don't? How important is it? Your thoughts on that, preparing, what have you. So it's our first roundtable. Hope you enjoy it. Let's give it a shot and see how it goes. All right. So who wants to talk first? Wayne?
Let Wayne, because Wayne is
Wayne don't have much to
the
say.
best
Just
grasp
more
on this.
Spanish you know, the better off you are, of course.
And how good is your Spanish?
About a 2 out of 10.
And you've been here for what, like 2 years?
No, just a little over a year.
He's doing one,
2 out of
one
10.
number each year, right?
2 out of 10. Were you rounding up?
A little over a year. Yeah,
he had to have been rounding up.
Rounding up.
yeah, you gotta know a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit of Spanish. Yeah, have to.
All right, Kathleen.
Kathleen?
How about you go first?
No.
and I'll
No, go ahead.
Well, for me, before I came to San Luis, learning Duolingo, that really helped. And I'm still doing that. And also, I'm taking lessons here, so online.
How often?
Twice a week.
Okay.
So that kind of helps. So the more practice, the better, and to speak it out once you learn new words, and definitely communicate with other Mexicans. That's
Now, how
really
often
important.
do you practice it when you're out? I'm just curious, because I know for me, it's like I kind of freeze sometimes. Like I'm not sure if I'm going to say it right, and sometimes I freeze. Sometimes whatever comes out of my mouth isn't even right.
Yeah.
So do you practice though when you're out there, or are you kind of at that freezing stage?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet.
mean, I'm still early in my learning, but Google is my friend for translating, and but yeah, I will. I mean,
But you
within
guys
this
are new
month.
here. You guys
little
have only
bit.
been here for 3 months
Right.
anyhow.
Yeah.
They have a good
Yeah.
grasp, though.
Yeah.
He has
really
a good
do.
grasp.
Yeah.
He really
Jeff,
does
how about
do
you?
good.
Yeah, Jeff.
I saw him when we went for a rental apartment. You started to talk to the guy in Spanish. I remember you talking to him. I remember him going into the refrigerator and pulling out a roast beef or something, but
Yeah.
All right, Jeff.
All right, Jeff, let's
Okay.
go for
Whole
you.
feeling on it.
So you asked, are you out there practicing? And I got my hair cut just before I got here. And the guy that cuts the hair doesn't speak any English.
No.
And so I was giving it a whirl, trying to communicate to him. And I was pretty surprised at how much he didn't understand. I was pretty shocked.
that's why you need Google
up with
Translate,
that?
though. You give the translation, and then after they read the translation,
Right.
they go, okay, and then they do it the hell they want anyway.
And my
Doesn't
Google
matter.
Translate wouldn't work because
Uh-oh.
the internet
Yeah,
was
you-
not
Was not
on,
good.
so
Now we
I
have-
was on my own.
Interesting. So the guy, your barber, didn't know any Spanish. Same thing happened here, and that's how I wound up with this.
Any
No,
Spanish,
but
any
see, he
English.
understood me, and I got you the nice
Mark,
short
you
hair.
said he didn't know any Spanish. You mean English?
Yeah, he meant.
Yeah, he didn't know any
meant,
Spanish.
Yeah, we know what he meant.
So, but you were practicing before. You had all your layout. I remember your little spreadsheet on verb tense and all that
Yeah,
too, right?
I've been studying. I really have.
Yeah.
But to go back to the big question is, how do you really need to know Spanish, and how much do you need to know? That is so personal. That's such a personal question, because you don't need to integrate with this community. You can have your English friends. You can FaceTime your family at home. You can watch movies all day. You can do all kinds of things that doesn't require you to be fluent in Spanish. You don't have to do it. If you choose not to become fluent in Spanish, you're writing off relationships with 95% of this country.
Yeah.
And that may not be a big deal, but that is what you're doing, because 95% of the folks down here don't speak fluent English. It's a little bit more in these big cities, but you are writing off a whole lot. When I go outside my house and walk around the park, most of those people don't know good English. If I want to talk to my neighbor, if I want to talk to any of my neighbors, pretty much I'm not going to be able to, because I don't know the language.
Yeah.
I think learning the language becomes extremely important if you're going to do anything involving yourself in the community, any kind of service, any kind of work. If you want to work down here and your work requires you to talk with Spanish-speaking people, obviously you're going to need to learn the language. If you're going to serve, like through a church or anything like that, or anything along those lines, you have to learn it. I think a person would gain a world of benefit from learning the language. Most people, not everybody needs to, but most people would gain a bunch because you're going to be able to talk to everybody. You're going to open up 100+ million people to you. And you can have a conversation with the guy in the checkout counter. You're going to know what the guy's saying to you when you're leaving to get your car washed.
Or what they're saying behind your back.
Yeah, and you're going to get better haircuts.
You'll get better haircuts.
We can all attest.
That said, becoming fluent in Spanish is going to take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. I have been studying for at least several hundred hours, and I still stink at it. And I am learning. I'm a fairly quick learner. I've been doing it pretty methodically, and I'm still got a long ways to go. But I think I've been here 3 months. I started studying a few months before I got here. Like Paulette said, I have spreadsheets, and I'm going through that Duolingo. I spend about an hour or two a day on it, and I've been tracking on it, and I plan to continue. And I know eventually I will, and it seems like it's going to take forever, but I know it's very important. All that said, it is going to take a long time. If you don't mind learning and you crack at it some each day, you'll get there. But it will take a long time.
Well, and not to mention, we're living in a country that speaks Spanish, so learn their language.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do the best you can. Yeah. Even if you're not good at it, when you try, they appreciate it, I think.
Yeah.
But Jeff is absolutely
Yeah.
right. If you don't work on your Spanish, you're missing out on a huge part of the
Yeah,
culture
you are.
Yep.
and the experience.
You're writing
that is
off the
Mexico.
vast majority of the people in the country that you now live.
Yeah. Okay,
For
Karen,
relationships.
Jim, what's your take?
My take on it is, I don't see where studying before you come here makes all that much of a difference. I've tried to study. In fact, I just dumped a language program because I really don't remember the words in the language program. I start to learn it when I'm in action in front of somebody and fumbling for words. I learned a bunch of words just because I like to go to Starbucks and have coffee. I know how to say whole milk now. I know how to ask if you have something
It's the
because
small things in
I learned.
life, isn't
It is the small
Just
things.
hold me back.
Yeah.
Hold me back.
And I can order at a restaurant. And
Right.
as long as I can eat, well, I mean, that's not my
That's
whole life
90% of it,
eating.
isn't it?
Yes,
That's 90% of it.
Yes,
Pretty
it is.
much,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is
Yeah, here we go
sleeping. You
again.
don't need Spanish when
So,
you're sleeping. So
Even
that's-
Karen says is if Jimmy's not eating food, he's thinking about his last meal or his next meal, or sometimes he's doing all three.
3 at once. He
Yeah.
is a multitasker.
Yeah.
The food is good here, but
Yeah.
neither here nor there. We'll go back to learning. I know how to say a few words. She's getting real good. She can get chopped meat. She goes to her yeah, she gets the meat. And the guy pounds the meat for her right there and does all that stuff.
Well,
So
that's
I'm going to turn
personal.
over yeah. We won't talk about pounding meat anymore. I'm going to turn it over to Karen and she can talk about the guy pounding his meat.
Wait a minute, this is a rated PG video.
I didn't say nothing wrong. The guy makes the Milanese.
I'm just putting it out. It's a rated PG. Okay. All right, Karen?
I have a little bit of a different aspect on it. Maybe I worked for 18 years in an apartment complex as a manager, and 95% of my clientele and 100% of my staff was Hispanic. So, and I would say over 75% of my staff didn't speak any English.
In the United
As
States.
I used to say to them all the time, it does not bother me. I had enough people that could translate for me. I used the excuse that I didn't learn Spanish through that time because I was busy doing mostly communicating with other English speakers, my bosses and different things like that. So it was one of those things I really missed an opportunity for practice, because it would have been wonderful if I could have practiced and had a much more vast
grasp.
of vocabulary in that. But I used to tell the employees all the time, just basically echoing what Jeff said. You are cutting off 95% of the country you live in. I used to watch them. They would stay in the community. They would only shop at Hispanic groceries, stores. They would only deal with Hispanic people and the vendors and different things, and they would not tread beyond a 5-mile radius.
Wouldn't do the Publix.
Yeah, I could tell them something was on sale. It was a great deal. They'd agree, but they would not go to that grocery store because it was out of their comfort zone. I understand how they feel.
And how long did a lot of them live there?
Oh,
10 years, 20 years?
20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
And so it happens there, it happens here,
Right.
and it's just what I guess out of what you were talking about, what you want out of life.
What you want
I'm
out of
trying
life.
to learn because
She wants to fit in.
I want to fit in. I love going to the butcher shops. I love going to local shops. I like going to the fruterias. I like going to the panerias. I like to go, and I probably slaughtered that, so you'll get a lot of comments below. Comment below. Don't give a shit. But I like doing that, so I practice a lot more. Jimmy tries to even interrupt me a lot of times. I'll be in a cab, and I have my little cheat cards, and I'm trying to tell them the corner, the esquerra, and all the other things, and I'll have my little cheat cards with me. I have index cards, and he's like, just leave them alone. And I think I'm not sure why. He's embarrassed of me? Or
No, I
he's
think
embarrassed
if I want the driver to bring me potatoes, I have no problem.
Well, maybe he can bring us a lawyer.
Okay.
You've got your guy on retainer, right?
Yes, I do.
All right, Mark, what's your thought?
I think that learning Spanish here is really a must if you're going to fully integrate into the community and enjoy everything about Mexico. If you don't do that, like Jeff said, you're going to miss out on 95% of this stuff. And Paulette and I are here permanently, and that's what we intend to do. We, try to fully integrate ourselves into the community. Just think about, all of the things we would be missing if we didn't try to do that. And just try to make friends, more Spanish, Mexican friends. It just makes your life richer, I think.
Yeah, and my comment on this is that we do have some Mexican friends in the neighborhood where we live. However, those Mexican friends
Speak English.
speak English to
Yeah.
us. Neighbors on both sides, Mexicans speak English to us. And like 3 or 4 other Mexican friends that we know, same thing. They know English very well. Most of them have lived in Chicago, Texas, LA, whatever, for years. And so they're very fluent in the English. However, like I said, we are living in a Mexican country where that Spanish is the language.
Hence the name Mexico.
Yeah. So, it's only right that I think that we learn
Insert
the
back
language
here. Yeah.
and try as best that we can. Will we ever be
Fluent.
proficient at it? No.
I hope so.
I think you'll
Yeah, I
become
hope so,
conversational
too.
eventually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
to some
Full
extent, you can be
sentences.
conversational.
Yeah.
That's
Or
true.
at least you hope you can be.
Right.
So the big deal is, it is no small task.
No,
It is
it's not.
a-
The older you are, the harder it is.
It is a huge undertaking, and people have to weigh the costs. And I think a lot of people just back out because it is such a huge task.
It is.
And people can get along. They can sleep in whether they speak Spanish or not. They can go to nice restaurants whether they speak it or not.
Right.
They can do enjoy all kinds of things. And for a lot of people, that's plenty. That's enough. They don't need to
Right.
dig in and get that extra, what they consider 10%
Right.
or 15%. They've got enough. One of the other YouTube guys that I watched, Q Paul, he said that many people come down to the Riviera Maya area intending on learning Spanish, and he said the vast majority
Never touch it.
don't do it. It's very few that actually become fluent. So to actually follow through and become fluent, if that generalizes to the rest of us, is you'd be definitely in the minority, big time minority.
Well, and I think there's a lot of, Canadians, Americans that do move to those expat communities.
And that's
San Miguel, okay,
Lake
Oaxaca.
Chapala, Lake Chapala.
Lake
I mean,
Chapala,
like,
Ahi.
yeah. There's a lot of those areas that they move to because English
a lot
is
of English
spoken there
speaking, yeah.
a lot. You know what I mean? It's very common in those communities.
And
It's
then
like a
you don't-
big expat community where English is spoken.
You don't need to know it.
No, you don't.
You really don't,
don't.
and you're basing your community where you're living based on how much English. This community, St. Louis Potosi, I mean, this is the extent of our true English speakers.
Right.
In this community that we know.
As gringos.
As gringos, this is a gringo-only rooftop right now. But you walk out and go to a restaurant, if we went to San Miguel, they'll ask you want a menu in English? Some restaurants here will, but you walk into a lot,
Most
no,
don't.
no, I don't have
Right. Right. And that's the
I
way
don't
really
speak, I don't
should
speak
be.
English either.
And but how do you compare San Luis Potosi to Oaxaca? Or I mean, I'm talking the gringo, English community, like Oaxaca and
It's huge.
San Miguel and Lake Chapala and all those areas. That's a big. I mean, we don't have that here.
No.
I mean, do you think so, Karen? Do you think that we have it's
No,
No.
It's not.
I
I
don't
mean-
see little Well, the only thing is, I will say that we belong to IFC, in International Friends,
Right.
and there is large foreign investments here. BMW plants and different things like
Right.
that. And we have been told that the common language is English. Among the Germans and the Japanese and the different ones that come, that's the one language they all kind of revert to. So there are pockets, I'm sure there are, in Lomas and
But
different things
a good
like
portion
that.
of those people.
But they're pockets of it.
It's
and
also
so
their
if you're
second
not
language
living it-
also.
Yeah.
Even the Germans,
they're-
it's their second language.
Third, fourth. They
Fourth
they know
language.
4 or
They're
5
polyglots. They
languages.
know everything.
True, and we're
Very
stumbling
jealous.
it too.
Yeah, I'm struggling on
Second
too.
language.
But I do understand my community now better, the one back in America, that why they didn't venture
Branch out.
out. It is difficult, and I don't have an excuse per se because I am retired. My only real excuse is that it's hard to find people to practice with. You find yourself kind of doing pidgin Spanish. I do, at least, throwing out a bunch of words without the conjunctions and that, and that derecha. I don't say the whole sentence. Hey, can you please turn right? Yeah.
Karen has always made the observation, and to some cases it's true, when a Spanish-speaking person looks at you, if they don't speak English, and you come up and say something perfect Spanish,
Perfect Spanish.
they look and go, okay. Because they're expecting a gringo, they expect English, they don't expect Spanish, and it goes woof right over their head. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then you repeat it again, and it's like,
Oh, okay.
oh,
Yeah, they'll
okay.
start to get it.
Said the same thing, but you say it twice, because the first time is, I want you to speak English, even though I don't understand it. And the second time around, it's, oh, okay, they're speaking to me in Spanish, so I understand now.
And I found that out of my work because we had a leasing agent that was Colombian, but he was very fair, very blanca. He's very blue-eyed, very tall, looked almost Swedish, and he would go out and talk immediately to the clientele coming in Spanish, and they'd go, "Oh, no, I want someone that speaks Spanish," and he'd go, "What did I just say to you? I'm talking Spanish."
Yeah.
But it's their eyes and their ears sometimes doesn't connect.
That's funny.
Okay, a couple more comments about Spanish. Not only, if you learn Spanish, can you have relationships with an extra 100+ million people, but it also makes so many things easier. When you get a phone call in Spanish, when you're in the store and you read, and there's Spanish writing, and there's Spanish coming over the loudspeaker, and there's a lot of different exposure. You're going to be exposed to Spanish in a lot of ways that's not interpersonal, relationship oriented. That you will benefit a ton just by knowing it. And also, even though it takes long sustained effort, it can be done. I think a lot of people can do it within a couple years, a year or two, if they really go at it, which I would quantify as an hour or two a day. If you can do an hour and a half to 2 hours a day, you should probably be good to go. If you can learn even average to learn reasonably well, a year to 2 years, hour and a half to 2 a day would be my estimate how long you could take to learn it pretty well. And if you're in your 50s or 60s even, and you're going to be down here for 20 years, that would have an awful long return on investment. Take those 2 years, learn it. If you're retired, what's an hour and a half to 2 hours out of your day if you know that it's going to benefit you a ton, and after 2 years, you're going to reap untold benefits. So I would suggest anybody go at it right away, and just pace yourself. It's kind of fun to learn anyway.
I'm going to make a comment on something that Wayne told me about that I was surprised at when we came down here. That he went to a movie. And he said the movies are in English. And then when I did some research on it, I found out you've got movie that'll say SUB, which means it's subtitled in Spanish. They speak English. Or it has one of the ratings, it's in the original language, whatever it is, French, German, whatever, with Spanish subtitles. And another one is it's dubbed in Spanish. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of the movies I'm looking at in movie theaters are subtitled.
Yeah.
In Spanish and in English, the way we could go to a movie. We haven't gone yet. Wayne, you've gone to a couple, haven't you?
Jeff and I have done both.
And you've done them.
Most movies are in
and
English. Most are in
that's
English.
Yeah.
Oh, so
That's
the ones you went to was in English?
We went to one that was in Spanish.
In Spanish.
But most of them are like Jim said.
Yeah.
They're SUB. They're subtitled
just
in
look the
Spanish.
sub.
They're spoken in English. You can go to the
Oh,
So
theater.
you can-
okay.
75%, if I were to guess, are English speaking.
English speaking.
movies.
Yeah, what are the three classifications? There's English, there's subtitled, dubbed, and there's one other.
Pretty much the original language Spanish.
The original, I think it said original or something, where it's not
ESP
dubbed
maybe,
or,
Espanol.
Espanol.
SUB,
Yes.
DUB, ESP, I think.
ESP, yep, that's the three. And it was interesting to find out we could actually go to a movie.
That
if
is
we
really
wanted
cool.
to.
Be
Yeah.
able to go to the show, especially when you can't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And another thing.
How do you order your popcorn now?
I was just thinking of popcorn.
Another thing we
Wrong.
Mantequilla on the popcorn.
I was gonna say another thing. You hear English music everywhere.
Everywhere.
Grocery
Yeah.
store
All the time.
to. I mean, and it's like, you're back in the 80s and 90s, and you're
Yeah.
hearing all the music, and I'm like, okay, they should know English, but they don't.
Yeah, it's interesting how much English music you hear down
Yeah.
there.
And every so often
That is
you'll be sitting there,
surprising.
you'll hear it, and it'd be like, what is that song? It's in Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
You'll all of a sudden say,
Yeah.
oh, that's in Spanish. What song is that? And I'll look at Karen and go, what
Oh.
song is that? And she knows right away.
One of my funniest memories about Morelia is in the Calzada. There was an old guy pushing an ice cream cart that had the music "Put a Ring on It" blaring out from it.
That was pretty funny.
All right.
Well, I guess that's a
did.
wrap on our first subject. Leave comments below what you think, questions, other topics you want us
Make
to
sure they're in
cover.
English.
Sure they're in English. And what is the movie you think did the best job?
Yeah.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait,
don't you
wait.
dare
Hey,
do
what the
that.
hell?
All right, you guys
All right.
want to do it with me?
All right.
Okay. As always, from the two travelers in Mexico.
Come on.
What they did.
What he did.
He did that.
Stop there, I don't care.